But let's get into the book club. We are talking about Shadows Rising by Madeline Rowe. We're going to do something a little interesting here, guys. What we're going to do is we have the Tupperware Topics is coming back from the early days of the podcast. We're going to pick out 10 questions, and we're going to go back and forth on those. But before we do that, what did you think, Squeaks, overall? Did you think good, bad? What did you think of the book?
Unclimatic in a medium.
Medium? Okay.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I would agree with
you. I was expecting actual Shadows Rising, Shadowlands.
Shadowlands stuff, yeah. That probably is the biggest disappointment, is it was so little Shadowlands. I mean, maybe a couple references to what might be coming, but no Shadowlands. It was more about the political capping off of BFA, which if you're a World of Warcraft player like myself and you, we are very done with BFA. We don't want to hear anything more about BFA. We're done.
I thought this book, like the Storm Before the last book.
Yeah.
Calm Before the Storm, right? Yeah.
That sounds right.
So that one did a good job at leading with the expansion. Me. This one was like, I was expecting to be at the next expansion already or the lead up to it, not something that I, like you just said, cap off Battle of Azeroth.
That was a really good one too, because then you also got like some crazy backstories of like, oh look, there's a new light undead and stuff like there's all kinds of like little lore things that were like, oh, that's big. But there was a couple here, like with Bimsamdi now, not necessarily the only Loa, stuff like that. So there is all kinds of things like that. Before we go too far, spoiler warnings. I just thought about that. Total spoiler warnings. Madeline Rowe is amazing, guys. Follow her on Twitter and stuff like that. Check out the book. It's worth a read, especially if you're a World of Warcraft fan. It's worth a read. I would also give it about a C just because I think my hype was too high for the book. I don't know. There's all kinds of things like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into our questions here, guys. We got the Tupperware of Topics. I'm so excited over here, guys.
I like this.
Oh, man. I miss the old days when we used to do this for the top 5. Okay. Did it start too slow or end unresolved? Go ahead.
I don't think it ended unresolved.
Yeah.
I'll start with the enemy because I think we got the conflict between, should we trust the Princess Solange with the Horde and how they kind of feel like, watch each other. You know that, like, we don't believe in her yet or we don't trust her yet.
Yeah.
I feel like that's resolved.
One thing that's nice too is it was by Talanji's point of view on whether or not she trusts the Horde, because this whole time as a Horde player, I mean, Mr. Pandaria, we were full on at war with the Zandalari. We were killing them. And they're still technically out there. If you guys go to Pandaria, you can see where we're fighting the Zandalari. So it's kind of this weird thing with time. But yeah, but I liked how it was, does she trust the Horde? I liked that, actually.
Yeah. No, that's actually a very good point. For the beginning, though, I thought it started right. I felt like it wasn't slow. Like when we got the first couple chapters and we were talking about, okay, now the Horde is sitting there and you have the meetings with the thralls and whatever. I expected that in the beginning. Yeah. I don't know how you felt, like if it was too slow or not.
In the beginning, I really liked it because, again, I'm such a Horde fanboy. And the idea of them sitting in the same room and you get to hear those personalities and stuff like that. The narrator, it's Susan Woke or Susan. I have to look it up. I'll look it up right now.
Names.
She's the voice of Talanji. And I'm just going to type it up real quick. I'm going to have to edit out this sound. Yada, yada, yada. Shadows Rising narrator. Oh my God, seriously? There. So the narrator was Susan Wakama, and she's the voice of Talanji. She's amazing as Talanji, of course. My only problem with her narration, and it picked up right away in the beginning, was her voice for Thrall. She's only got so much of a range. Thrall's got a very deep voice. It kind of took me out of it a little bit. Did you have any problems with her narration?
Only when it did come at the man, because especially with the Alliance men too. Like for me, it wasn't like, okay, who's really talking sometimes? And then this is my first audiobook, so I would really have to try to okay, focus. Like who we at right now?
Yeah.
And then with her doing the voices for the men, it was like, okay, they sound kind of similar. And Bane and Thrall themselves are kind of, I don't want to say too similar, but she tried doing the deep voice for both.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, whatever. But obviously she voices Talanji, so like right away I was like, man, I don't know if this is her, but she does kill a Talanji.
She does a good Talanji. Yeah.
I think that was the only issue I had when it come with the male voices.
She did very good with Samdi as well because she kind of used the
She
Talanji
did,
thing to
yeah.
it, and I didn't think. I mean, I thought you couldn't master that because Samdi's voice in game is masterful, and she did a heck of a good job. I was into it. I was really into it.
She actually did, and I think is when she's doing the trolls and she's throwing that accent to
Rastakhan
it, it was totally fine.
Zakhan.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a good job with those. So the beginning was really good because again, as a fanboy, you're just like, oh man, there's more Horde. I'm really excited for that. And the very ending was good. I think we had some really particular moments that like, ooh, that got me excited. One in particular that I'm thinking of is Anduin, who's really mad at one point towards the end there, and I think he's talking to Zira. Did you notice that where like a piece of shadow like went down his arm and he's like clutched it and he's like looking around to see if anybody caught that? I wonder if that's going to be a thread that we follow into like the next expansion, not necessarily Shadowlands, but the Shadowlands after that.
And you don't think that's something that he's trying to hide, or obviously it's something that it seems like he's trying to hide, but you don't think that's him might be turning on something, do you?
Well, no, I don't think he's turning on. So
Okay.
he's a priest, right? And so priests are holy. Discipline, and of course Shadow. So it is in Mesa Pandera, he actually used some Shadow abilities too. But he can be a Shadow Priest, and I think he's trying to keep that at bay because we just got done defeating the old gods, which are Shadow.
Okay.
And there's a ton of hints that when we come back from Shadowlands after this expansion, we're going to come back to a world where the light has taken over, and the light is actually the bad guys, and we have to work with possibly some of the shadows. So this weird thing where he's trying to hide it, and he might have to embrace it. I don't know. We'll have to see. That leads into the fact that he put Terrellian, I think it was, in charge of the Alliance army. And when we go to Shadowlands, he'd probably be the new king. And here he's fully like, become a paladin or die. Like that's how he thinks. So that'll be real interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I think those both were decent. Those both were pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our next one, guys. Do you have a new perspective as a result of reading this book? So we'll go specifically with World of Warcraft. Do you think it changed any of your perspectives in World of Warcraft?
I'm gonna say no, not at all. I think the whole time all we got was this whole like trust between one side and the other. Yeah, I didn't get really very very lacking on the alliance side of things too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I feel like I would have been more open to the different perspective because I obviously Horde players. I don't venture out to the alliance side at all, so it would have been cool to kind of get more of that side and the issues going on there, kind of like what Before the Storm did. No, not too much really. No, how about you?
I did like how it did give me a little bit more of the alliance side. Actually, I know we didn't get much of the alliance side, but I have one alliance tune that is a boosted tune that I barely play. Other than that, I don't touch the alliance side. But we did just see kind of like daily life of in Silvermoon or not Silvermoon in Stormwind.
So we got the two night elves. I can't think of the names.
Oh, Talanji or not Talanji. No, there's so many names. Were they like basic night elves or were they big night elves?
They were like they're the main two, the female and the big.
Oh, dude. Malfurion, right?
Malfurion and
my God, names are so bad right now.
You should know these names.
I know, and I do. It's oh my God, this sucks. Shit. Don't look it up. Do not look it up.
Okay. No, look it up. Can I look it up and not tell you?
Shit. All right. Oh yeah, look it up then, I guess. I'm editing this out. That's so crappy.
Oh God, now I'm on it.
She's the night elf
generator one. I know. God damn.
Glad we're not streaming this.
Okay, so I see a bunch of pictures of her.
Tyrande.
There you
go. So we didn't just look that up, guys. Yeah, Tyrande. We got more of them, and she's, right now she's kind of losing it a little bit. We got a little bit of
that's kind of neat.
Feature that. So there's one particular chapter that was almost like not needed, and actually, if I were to take one out, it might have been this one because it wasn't really needed. The one where Anduin goes to the bar and just has a drink, and he sees Jaina there, and it's kind of this awkward thing where like, oh, hey, Jaina, and she's like, you got to have your days, man. You got to have your days where you just sneak away and be a human. I liked that chapter. That was one of my favorites. And
okay. I thought you were going to say you didn't like it.
I really liked it.
I thought it was kind of nice because you get to see what Anduin's actually feeling on.
Right.
We get to get in his feelings for a little bit.
especially again, like as a Horde player, you don't see much of Anduin. I do respect him a lot, as you know, he does seem like a pretty fair leader on that side. But yeah, it was like I remember very well from the cinematic for the intro to BFA when you're excited when Sylvanas yells for the Horde, and then he does resurrection and looks at everybody like son of a bitch, but he is an amazing amazing character, to be honest with you. Okay, anything else you want to get on that one? No, I think we're
No, no perspectives. Val, the elf and the female blood elf,
yeah.
Valerie or whatever, and her relationship with the Alliance character.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of neat for it to do like perspectives. I kind of was digging that a little bit because that's something you don't hear a lot too much with the Alliance and the Horde being a couple.
And I liked the end too, where we had Illyria. You're talking about Illyria,
and
yeah. Well, she's high elf. She's not blood elf. So she's actually. I know. But for the World of Warcraft listeners, they're already mad that we didn't know Tyrande, so I don't want to fuck them up too much. Yeah, but she was high elf. Anyway, so next one. Were there any parts of the books you thought were incredibly unique, out of place, thought-provoking, or disturbing? I've got one in particular that was probably the best part of the book, and it was the only Shadowlands part of the book. But
God, yeah. I don't know. Unique. I think maybe the arrows flying at Wasamdi. At that point,
Wasamdi, yeah.
Pretty cool image. I don't know if that's like a uniqueness, but yeah, that's the only thing I can really think.
All right,
really.
Then we got to talk about it. The death of Zakan. He died in the fires, and we saw him actually plunge into and we saw chains come up, which is something we know from Shadowlands. That is the Maw, the jailer, getting him to bring him into the Maw. Now he's a good person, so he shouldn't be brought to the Maw, but he is being brought to the Maw, and it kind of like it shook him, and it brought up questions like even Talanji's asking Bamsamdi, like why was he brought to the Maw? He shouldn't have been brought to such a terrible place. And then even the lead up to that, because it's one of those things where you're like, he'll be fine. He's a Khan. He's such a fan favorite. If you guys aren't familiar with Zappy Boy, basically he was just a part of the trailer and was kind of this new character, but he got the nickname Zappy Boy because the fans saw this one troll being a badass on the battlefield. Was like, that guy needs to be a character, and that's where he's at. That's why he's such a big character now. And I love him because he's like, oh my God, I'm next to Thrall. That's how I am, So, but yeah, seeing that moment where he saved the two kids using elemental powers because he's a shaman, and then actually succumbing to the fire, like that blew. I was actually at Home Depot listening to that in my earbuds, and I remember very clearly stopping for a second, like, no way, they just killed Zakan, like that's crazy. And I'm like, oh, that's right, next to Shadowlands, everybody's gonna be dead, but like that was nuts. And then we had him being saved, and it was a real back and forth. I was actually like on the edge of my seat on that.
Yeah, I actually totally forgot about that part. But yeah, what would you place that as? Like well, you wouldn't say. Well, I guess it could be kind of disturbing because it is like the chains pulling him down.
Well, it was disturbing. Yeah, it was disturbing because it was so out of line for the rest of the book. Because the rest of the book was politics. Like that was out of nowhere. Yeah. That was the one Shadowlands part. And it was so unique. It was something that was. Okay, so the middle of the book, to be honest with you, was pretty slow, in my opinion. The middle of the book was a bit of a drag, right? And that one got me, and it was right in the middle of the book, and I was like, man, I'm fully in again. I needed that. I think the book needed it. But yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
All right, let's get to our next one here. Unfolding paper. You can hear the sound effects. It's so neat. Which character in the book did you like the best? Nice and easy one.
Man, I'll go with Talanji. I know it's kind of basic.
No, that's good.
I like seeing her going back and forth with her decision, with her like trusting her or not, but also with like her how having to become a leader, and then like the politics behind that too.
Yeah.
What decisions have to be made, because she really went back and forth, and then sometimes I liked how she had to consult with Wasamdi himself.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and she stood up to him too.
Yeah, and like, are we getting a bunch of advice from? Because I felt the whole time because of that. I was like, okay, this is going to lead up to something bad to me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we're really trusting this low of the dead or whatever, But it turns out, I guess, everything was fine to me.
Well, yeah. And one thing I really liked, we'll talk about the spoilers in this one. So in BFA, Rastakhan, her father, basically tied the entire family to Bumsamdi, and he's such a feared Loa. And so there's this whole thing of like she's chained to him, forcefully. And then through the events of the book, where she's kind of standing up to him, like even more than I would say Rastakhan ever did, and stuff like that, like kind of like pushing back
Yeah.
on him. And then at the end, when they made the agreement that no, you're not going to have to be our Loa anymore. At the end, when he's like, "Here's the knife. You can cut the ties between us, and you'll be you, and I'll be me." And they were so tied that when he was being weakened, she was being weakened. So they shared almost a spirit there. And she said, "No, I'm not going to cut the knife, but you're gonna downplay it a little bit. We're gonna get the other ones involved too." So now she has a council of Loas showing her the way, and even Bumsamdi, who are we kidding? He's very busy right now because of Shadowlands. Like he's actually just kind of holding things together as much as he can, and is apparently so important that Sylvanas wants him dead. Like that was the point of the book, was we have to kill Bumsamdi because he's the one thing that could stop us. I'm excited for that because I love Bumsamdi, and to think that he's going to be important in Shadowlands is great. So, but yeah, I like how now we have this new relationship. It's changing the lore and the fact that like he's just a part of her council, not necessarily the only one whispering in her ear. It's pretty
And I
cool.
think what it leads what my feeling was the whole time, it leads to, are we going to get like a corrupted Talanji one day in the future,
Hmm.
or we're going to get a super powerful one that's actually going to be loyal to the Horde and whatnot?
Well,
Um,
yeah, when somebody was the one keeping her in the
you know,
horde. Isn't that neat?
so then, yeah, yeah, but then is there tricks to it? Because I feel like, okay, do we trust Wasamdi all the way? You know,
Right.
I
He's
mean,
kind of a Loki, so no.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I like him a lot, so I
So,
want to.
who's your character?
Um so again, my kind of the basic answer would be Zakan, right? Because I like to get more from him. I feel like he's the most player of all characters out there. Um but I think you were good there with Talanji, because Talanji, we've gotten some from her. Like she has her own expedition in BFA, but this one we actually really got to see like the inner thought that she has, and it
Yeah,
was really important to see that. I think Talanji was a really
yeah,
good choice. I think that's a good one.
yeah, yeah.
Next up, what were the main points you think the author was trying to make? And I'll start with this one. I think the main thing was the fact that trust was so needed. It was something that Battle for Azeroth was all about, dividing two factions, and then like this new thing came up, and you found out like there's something even bigger than the old gods. We have to worry about that now. Now we're trying to heal those things up, and like at the end of Battle for Azeroth, we have this Thrall and Jaina saying like we could do this again, we could form peace, but this time we'll make it work. And this book, I think that was the point of this book, was to show that there is trust being sown in between of those, especially when they've sent Syrah over to the Alliance, which was huge because it was like, holy
Hmm.
cow. And a note from Thrall saying, this isn't the main one you wanted, but I hope this is a start. And it's kind of this idea like Thrall will get Sylvanas' head and send her your way. So I liked that. It was kind of the tiptoeing towards, this is how we could create the future of World of Warcraft, where maybe the factions aren't fully at war anymore.
Yeah, I think you totally nailed it with the whole trust issue, because that's what this whole book felt like.
Mm-hmm.
It was just trust between one another, and that's what eventually started in the very beginning when Thrall sent, I'm gonna call him Zappy Boy,
Yeah,
sent him to follow Talanji. You know,
yeah,
so yeah, that's basically what this book is.
yeah. Zappy, that's a good way to go. It's a con, but Zappy Boy's better.
Zakon.
Yeah. Okay. Has your attitude or behavior changed? This one we kind of already answered, but I'll go ahead and start with this one too. A lot more respect for the Alliance than I had before. I don't like the Alliance. Please don't hate me, but a lot more respect for them because I see like the living, breathing characters version of them.
Yeah.
Jane has always been like something I've really liked. It's unfortunate that she hated us so much, but we deserved it after we blew up her city. But it was good to see like this Jaina return, like to humanity, to actual
Yeah.
humanity, not a human. And yeah, I learned my behavior, my reactions to the Alliance might have changed a little bit. Yeah. What do you think?
I don't think I changed too much because I've always been kind of a Jaina fan, even though obviously a 100% horror player.
Right.
I really like Jaina. So to her, like you said, to her, kind of like come. No, I don't want to say come to her senses, but to calm down a little bit, having those conversations with Rawl,
Hmm.
meeting and to do whatever they were going to do. It's kind of nice, or it's nice, even though raging Jaina sometimes kind of awesome
Fun.
too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
But I don't think there was so much because it was so not what we expected out of the book.
Hmm.
So it was kind of just like this little. It really felt like just a dragged on mini story.
Yes, I
Uh,
totally agree. Actually, that goes
so
into our next question too. Actually, but yeah,
okay, because I feel like this now. I feel like okay, where's the book that is actually going to reference Shadowlands?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We'll talk
So
about it at the
my
end if we don't get
yeah
a question that refers to the authors, because we do need to talk about the change of authors in these novels
yeah.
and how we
hmm
think it affected things. Okay, so did it jump around too much, or did it hold your suspense?
I don't think it jumped around too much, and sometimes I kind of wish it did really, because I feel like we
Okay,
stayed with one character the whole time. Because
Talanji.
obviously, like the last ones, we went with like, okay, now we're back in Stormwind, now we're back in this, now we're back in this. Now I'm actually okay with that because they do a really good job at like, okay, like how the chapters are labeled on paper.
Yes, yeah.
Stormwind. Okay, now I know I'm in Stormwind, and this is what I'm reading on. I'm continuing the story that two chapters ago was like that, and I
hmm
think uh, author-wise, Kristen Gold did a great job at making sure that I feel like I know where I'm at in place.
Yeah.
This one, I was like, okay, now we're Zoldazar. Now we're in. I can't remember all the areas, but okay, now I'm in Zoldazar again,
hmm
and then I just it just felt like one straight story.
Yeah,
But
you make a good point there. If you were not a World of Warcraft player, they didn't describe the cities very well. They didn't describe the settings very well. Like they
yeah,
would say Zuldazar, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Golden Palace, yada yada yada, pyramid, dinosaurs walking around. But if I didn't feel like they were transporting me there as a new person to Azeroth, but as a person who's already been there. So I think like Orgrimmar, stuff like that, they could have done a little bit better. Madeline could have done a better job explaining that, I think, personally.
so then basically, yeah, if you're not a WoW fan, then you would. I mean, there was no way you would understand this book, but I guess that goes with most books, with the WoW series.
Do you
So,
think so? Because some of them, no, because I gotta disagree on this one.
hmm
I One of my favorites out of Golden is the Arthas one, and I can remember it
okay,
visually very well. Like she sets up being at the Howling Forge, and like I forget, they're like basically goats. They're eating up the grass, and she's explaining how the wind is blowing through the grass, and I was like, oh, I'm transported there. As a World of
hmm
Warcraft player, you could picture it, but even if you weren't a World of Warcraft player, you're like, I'm seeing that grass, I'm feeling that wind. I don't know. I thought,
okay.
I don't know.
Then maybe we didn't. Okay, then I haven't read out this one. Obviously, I'm pretty much starting from before the storm, but then maybe that's a good point
Right.
that it's like okay, with the authors, that who can really make us feel like we're actually in there. Besides, like okay, well, I don't need all that. Kind of like the World of Warcraft movie in a way. Like okay,
hmm
you don't need to explain what a priest is. When we saw him right off the bat, we knew what he was. You
Right.
know.
Right.
So I guess in this book, we're expected to already know what's going on. Well, who's who?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right, we got a few more here. This next one is there anything left unresolved or ambiguous? Unresolved. Well, the whole Shadowlands thing, for one thing, we didn't get enough. We kept hearing rumors of like something's wrong on the other side, and the shamans are saying something's wrong with the afterlife, but they didn't really address it. And then, of course, the big thing was when Zakan died, we saw these chains, and then when Samdi kind of said like, I'm saving people from going all the way through there. All the trolls your father have been saved from going all the way through. They're going to my, which I don't know if you know this or not. That place he's referencing where he's sending people to instead of going to the mall, that's actually a dungeon in the next expansion he's talking
oh
about.
shit,
Yeah, we're
that's
actually going to
badass.
visit that. Yeah, at Bumsomni's request and
Oh
kill some
shit,
people. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
that's badass. Yeah.
So there's that. I really felt like, especially if you weren't like gonna play Shadowlands, which I don't know if a lot of people are reading this book and not doing that. But man, then you're like sitting here like, well, what's going on with the afterlife? You guys left that way too open.
Yeah.
There's nothing saying that, we have the epilogue that basically shows the Sylvanas trailer for Shadowlands. Too loose, man. I think it was
And
too
that's
loose.
the only fucking Shadowlands we got out of this book called Shadowlands.
Yeah,
Shadows
Shadows
Rising.
Rising. Yeah,
So it was like, where's the shadow stuff? I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of what
That's
I
a
wanted.
great point. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I there was just not if the unresolved stuff. I mean, I guess my unresolved everything would be that's not this is not what the book I was expecting at
It
all.
wasn't. That's a big part of
Yeah,
it too.
yeah.
I kept waiting because I was like, maybe halfway through, we'll get to where they're going to Shadowlands. There's something going on, because I know from the start of Shadowlands, beta wise and stuff like that, like there's Thrall and Jaina already over there, and I'm sure in pre-patch we'll get a reason why. And I know during pre-patch we fight Nathanos and stuff like that, but it was kind of like it needed. I don't know. It just needed a little more setup, I think.
And I thought it was so shitty that the epilogue was a copycat of the trailer that we saw. Like, yeah, I know this. Cool for
Yeah.
putting words into it, whatever. But I was expecting to go way past that now.
Then the Thanos part
Or
was new,
yeah,
but it wasn't like it was needed in any way. Basically,
hmm
he failed and she was upset with him. That was literally it. That's
yeah,
everything
yeah,
from the Thanos part.
yeah, exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
All right, we have two more to go. This one is: I'm sorry. Did you approve of the main character's decisions and behaviors?
Um, yeah, I can't think of anything that I didn't like about.
Those out of whack or
What was I?
something? Well, again, I'm going to go back to just it obviously struck because I'm mentioning it a few times now. But when Zakan ended up launching those two kids with like air abilities out of the thing right there, it really inspired me as a horde player. Kind of like, man, that's kind of the Sour Fang, because he kept hearing Sour Fang's voice kind of like giving him advice. And it was like that Sour Fang rubbing off on him. Like that's the honor part of the horde rubbing off on him and stuff like that. So I just was really inspired by that as a player of the game. Because if you're an alliance player looking at the horde, I think there's this generalization of like, we're just the bad guys. We're not that. We're, technically the horde's refugees and stuff like that. And just a band of misfits that are working together to try to prove themselves and survive. And I liked that. It really made me proud of the horde. And I thought that was the behavior that I would make as a player. I really liked that. That was really good. Yeah.
Oh shit! I like how you went to your feelings. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have an answer for this question, to be honest. I just
Okay.
feel like, yeah, there's, but that's so. I don't know. It's so bad at the same time because I want to super bash on this book, but it was just so uneventful that I kind of just,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm along for like a book. It's like riding the Jungle Cruise. You're like, okay, this is cool,
Yeah. I was looking forward more to an Indiana Jones ride.
but the line was too long, so you're like, oh shit, I'll just settle
Yeah,
with
but
this.
you just go with a single rider and you're all right, man. By the way, you ever do
Like I
single
guess.
rider on Indiana Jones?
I don't think I've ever done single rider on Indiana.
Oh, you're gonna get tired of Indiana Jones. I'm telling you that right now. You go through
Yeah.
that thing so fast as a single rider, it's unreal. That's one of the best. Man, I miss Disneyland so freaking much.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Okay, let's get
Yeah.
back to this.
Now we're just getting depressed.
I know. Last one here. Do you wish it was told from a different perspective? I,
Mm, well, for the setting that it's in, I was okay with it.
I think it was okay. Yeah,
I think it was too much to Longy, really.
yeah, but I did
I
like
got
that a lot
excited
of it
for
was
her.
Solange in a way
I was okay.
because we needed more of this new leader within the horde.
Leader. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really it, really. I think it was good for what the story was
Yeah.
about. Yeah, I think it was fine.
I wish we actually got more from Anduin's perspective. We just didn't get a lot of the alliance right.
I was gonna say, yeah, I would have liked to see more Alliance side.
We didn't get any. Did we get any from Flynn? I know we got some from Shaw, but did we get any from Flynn, the pirate? Because I don't think we got any of it from Flynn's point of view. That would have been pretty
'Cause
cool.
he was the
Pirate's
one
life.
He was the one locked up,
No,
right?
that was Shaw that was
Yeah,
locked up. Flynn was the
Shaw.
one that ended up going back for him, or going back, to save him.
Yeah, not point of view, huh?
It would have been cool to hear his point of
Um,
view on Shaw. Well, we got Shaw's point of view on Flynn. Let's hear Flynn on Shaw. I don't know. I thought that would have been nice. Because they also, I don't
yeah,
know. It's a whole thing where like they set up this thing like, well, I'll meet you at the tavern later on, but we never hear about them actually at the tavern.
yeah.
So we could have gotten
That was at the end, right?
That was the
At the
very
tavern.
end.
That was at the end after they kind of rescued him or got him back. Okay.
Yeah, so I assumed it was going to end with that. I thought it was going to
Yeah.
end with them like, and then we saw that okay, for the first time ever, Shaw's actually going to relax and go on vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of being
Yeah.
the spy master that he is.
hmm
That was a good example of another character that we got more of because he's always in the cutscenes, but he's not actually,
Yeah.
I don't know. As a horde player, you don't talk to him ever. You just see him in the cutscenes. You're like, who's this badass in the back? So yeah. Okay, so yeah, overall, just revisit that real quick. Slow. It was okay. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I think is the main purpose of this.
And that's what I think we're always going to hold on to. That's not what we were expecting because obviously, if
Yeah,
you're going to say Shadows Rising, there was no Shadows Rising at all, to be honest.
yeah,
Um, and to me, I always just say it was very uneventful because even the
mhm.
last battle scene, I wasn't even really hooked into that. I think the only part that I was like, oh, this is cool was if correct me if I'm wrong, when they were teleporting to Zildazar. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I like that part. I
Yeah,
do like that part. When all of a sudden there's like a bunch of hordes
yeah,
showing up and they're like, it's an invasion. Like, no, no, no.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that part was I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to get into it. But then ultimately, I was like, yeah, I'm still kind of just.
It
And
was
I
a
felt
bit
like the
before we
battle
actually got
scenes,
to the battle after that.
and I feel like the battle scenes were just like one chapter long, right?
It
I
was
mean, I
only one
feel like
chapter. Chapter,
it
I think
was.
31. I think that was it. It was just the big
I had
battle.
to wait 30. I had to wait. I had to go through 30 chapters to get to that one.
Yeah.
you
No, seriously.
know.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, uneventful for sure for me.
Uneventful, and there's a lot of this where like Christy Golden did such a good job with her books, and she's now writing for World of Warcraft that we kind of expected some of that. If you guys miss Christy Golden's writing, she is working on. There's a book coming out, I think it's next year. That's going to be like the day in life in Azeroth. So it's actually going to tell mini stories. It's going to be a series of short stories of like the guy who teaches you cooking in Orgrimmar, like what it's like for him to like, oh, I need to go kill some boars and bring them back. There's this guy who wants to be learning about this. It's gonna be like the day in life of just like random people in Azeroth. So I'm hoping
That's
that'll
gonna be awesome.
yeah. Oh, good. I'm excited. I'm happy to hear that
Yeah,
from you
I think that's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
we talked about this before. I've got backstories for my characters. One of them is my hunter on Ner'zhul. He's this guy who pretends like he's the sheriff of Orgrimmar, but really he's just kind of losing it, and he walks around with a gun protecting people. So I'm excited to hear like the little day-to-day life stuff. But that's coming up, and we'll probably make that an audiobook when we do that. We'll have to make that one of our reads.
I just want to hear the life of a barbershop. How many times do people go in there?
Oh, dude,
like,
there's
a whole facial done.
Oh, you got to see, because they're now in Shadowlands. They're giving you like the ability to change your gender, change your face, change everything. There's a video cartoon somebody made of like this barber, retiring and giving it to the other guy's like, I don't want the job anymore. And then he's like, I want to become a woman, make it happen. It's just so funny. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just a barber. But it's a lot of fun. Okay, so we have the poll we put up on our social media, guys. Thank you guys so much for voting to see what we should be listening to next. And you guys chose The Sandman by 50. It's 54% winner. That was your pick, Squeaks. I'm excited for it. And we already had people saying like, that is amazing. You're going to love Sandman. And this is going to become a Netflix series. I don't know if we mentioned this, but it's going to be a Netflix series coming up. So that's good too.
Well, really? So is it going to stick with Netflix? Because I know this is DC, and DC did that HBO Max deal. So.
Yeah, it's like it is Netflix. I don't know why. It should be HBO Max, but yeah, they already made the deal with Netflix. So hopefully it's good.
Okay,
we'll have to see.
I started the book because I was confident it was going to win. So it's really neat to because so you had one voice, right? Obviously with the Shadows Rising. So this one you literally have a whole cast of like talking back and forth with each other and the sound effects. It's really neat. It's very
This is an audio drama, guys. So if you guys want to join us on this, give us your opinion as we're reading it. We'll give this time I try to do each chapter, but I was like, it's too hard to do each chapter, something about each chapter. So every so often we'll jump in with something exciting. We'll throw it up on our social medias. And follow us, guys, on Twitter and Instagram. We're really, especially Twitter, but Instagram, I'm trying to like, we're getting popping over there. We're doing okay. If you're on Facebook and that's where the only place you follow us, head on over to Twitter, guys. But yeah, so The Sandman, if you guys want to join us and listen to this, go to audibletrial.com/geekfreaks. You can help us out. We're actually, from these ads, we're getting brand new mics for Squeaks over there. He's getting a brand new mic over there. So you're going to hear that voice even clearer. It's going to be real classy sounding.
Sexy ass voice.
Oh my God. I can't wait.
Let me put you to sleep.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us on Shadows Rising by Madeline Rowe. We really appreciate it. We hope you guys had a great week. We hope to see you guys next week. We'll see you guys later. Bye.